Do, 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 do. Hey, kiddies. Wow. What a week on the show, huh? Welcome. Welcome, everybody. What a week on the show. Seriously, that show last night, stopped me in my tracks. Dale Harder on Monday, man. And I just that's what the show is all about. And then tonight we have Sharron Rose on. Wow, that came out of nowhere. All right. Let's see here. Hold on. I'm gonna tweet out who is on the bunker cam right now. Just to see who's watching, right? That's all. I got a new atomic clock. My old atomic clock yesterday, and atomic clocks are important because, they're accurate to the second. Countdown, boom, click, 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 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., drop dead, everything starts, right? Okay, all right. Very important to have in radio and broadcast. And last night during the show at 9:42 p.m., I look up and, we had Damon Barry on the show last night. And the second hand is going, and I'm like, wow. And, we're doing the overtime and I'm talking to, and I looked up and it was still at 9:42. And the second hand, I'm like, man, that seemed like 5 minutes passed, and I'm just kind of tripping. And if you go back and look at the video last night, I am sure you will see me. I haven't looked, but you will see me, looking up going, man, that's weird. And then at the end of the show, I just looked down at one of the computers, because they all have clocks, and it said 9:55, right? And clicked to 9:56. I was like, I just lost time, right? It was just crazy. So anyway, the atomic clock just stopped working. And I just thought, well, okay, we'll fix it. Couldn't fix it. So I had to go out and get another one today. Now I've got a digital one. I like the analog because I like looking at the second hand, right? And it follows out of Colorado, follows a radio signal that goes around the world that all of the atomic clocks lock onto, and right? So I like that second hand. I like the analog vibe. But anyway, that's gone. So I've got a digital clock now. 6:58, 24, 25, 26, 27. Okay, here we go. Getting ready to kick this off live here. Let me move some stuff around on my screens. And very excited about the show tonight. Tomorrow night, Fader night. And then, of course, coast to coast all weekend. And then we cannot forget, man, I've got something scratching my throat, and I've got 1 minute to showtime. The world's coming to an end on Saturday, so don't pay your mortgage. Take all the money out of the bank. Don't pay your taxes. Don't do any of that stuff. We go live here in 45 seconds, so I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Yeah.
bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Yeah. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man, today's Wednesday, September 20th. 263 days into the new year, just 102 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Wednesday night. Looking at all of these fantastic dancing gifs. I'm just clicking hearts all the way down on Twitter. Just heart. Jimmy Page. That's what I'm talking about. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Very simple. At JChurchRadio. Check out these gifts. Karen, that is a big bowl of wrong with organic milk. But that's going to get a retweet right there. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I don't even know what that is. Is that real? Is that like battery powered? A twerking stuffed animal? Is that what? You guys are the best. Fade or nots. Unbelievable family that we have here. Tonight, very special guest, Sharron Rose. She's going to be with us. We're going to have an entire Egypt to India divine feminine history lesson tonight. And I love it when I say it. We're going to get our education on. Yeah. You're going to get your diploma. Tonight, a history lesson. Classic Fade to Black. I just love it when that goes down. Tomorrow's another Fader Night with John Rappaport, by the way, and he's going to be here with us. No more fake newsroom live, and followed by open lines all night long. And then we roll over to Coast AM. I'll be sitting in for George Norrie, and it's really funny. So George, right before showtime tonight, get an email from George, and with his instructions here. Yes, Ree. I don't have audio. Audio is playing. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Hold on. If you can see me, I don't know if you can hear me. If you can see me or hear me, but I don't understand. It looks like we are good to go now. Okay. All right. Let's do it this way. Fade to black. Boom. Okay, we should be back. Okay, where was I? 7:07. Okay, tonight, Sharron Rhodes is going to be here again in Egypt to India, ancient Egypt to India, divine feminine history lesson. And we're going to discuss a little bit of everything tonight with Sharron. Now, tomorrow night, John Rappaport's going to be here. Fade to Black, Fader Nights. He's going to be here with his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by Open Lines all night long. Friday night, I'll go over to Coast to Coast. My guest will be Dane Wigington, and we are going to discuss geoengineering, the weather, and is this what is going on? Incredible what Maria just did to Puerto Rico. Dominican Republic is next. Is the United States going to get touched? We don't know. But Puerto Rico is the United States. And then, of course, the devastating earthquake in Mexico, the second one in a week, on the anniversary of the great Mexico City earthquake, right? So that will be Friday night, followed by Open Lines. And then Saturday night over at Coast, which is September 23rd, supposed to be the end of the world, and it's supposed to kick off over in Jerusalem in the skies. And then it's supposed to happen, a seven-headed dragon. So will it bring down Coast to Coast? Well, that's what I am going to do over at Coast on Saturday night. I'm going to have an end-of-the-world party. I will announce, Coast to Coast will announce my guests tomorrow night. I don't want to preempt them. But it is, it's September 23rd, the end of the world. So there you go. I have to do an end of the world celebration. So that will be Saturday night over on Coast. And then what I am doing over at Coast, which is something rare, but I am going to go to Open Lines. I'm going to talk to everybody all around the world about the end of the world. That should be going down during our broadcast. So we've got a very busy week here, and Sunday we'll take the day off. Okay. All right. I get to take the afternoon off. All right. Okay. Let's get this show cracking. Follow us on Twitter at JChurch Radio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. Jimmy Church Radio, Fade to Black, Jimmy Church Radio. It's all good. Okay. All right. Don't know. What's really weird here is the technology that is involved to produce a show like this the technology is crazy, and it could be very, very simple. We could just have one microphone and no phone calls and no guests, right? Okay, very simple setup there. Once you get into extra phone lines for callers and guests and video cameras and the bunker cam, everything that gets involved here, we have a very technical setup. One little thing goes down, and you have to just suss it out and try to figure it out. All right? Very, very fortunate that all of these years that we have broadcast, and if you think about it, out of all of the years, we've only had a couple of nights where things have gone down. Pretty much, we have been good. Okay, what's this? What's going on here? I don't know. That's a weird tweet. I don't know what's going on. You tell me. Who posted that? I have no idea. Why would you post that, Mark? That is a meaningless tweet. A tweet means absolutely nothing. You took the time to post that and caught my eye, and there's nothing there. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com is the email if you want to question, comment, or do anything during the show. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. By the way, the Apple Store is straightened out now. Okay. So if you subscribe to our podcast, you can do it on all platforms, which is Apple, Android, everything in between, Kindle. Everything is there. The software that you need, just go to either store, search Fade to Black, and you can download the software. Then go over to Libsyn, get your account. $2 a month. Very simple. We did some upgrades and updates to our Apple app, and it took about a week. It was weird. It was supposed to take a day. It took about a week, but it's up and live now. Okay, or you can become a full-on Fader. Go to our membership area. Very simple. Go to our membership area. We have 4 different levels that you can go to, all the way up to the Game Changer. All right, everything helps support the show. Don't forget all of our great sponsors. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com. The promo code there is Fader, Fader. Get the Super Strength Tea. There's a special right now. Go to the specials page, and you will get free shipping because you are a Fader not. Promo code is Fader. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Absolutely the best coffee in the world. If you have any questions about it, go over to Twitter, post in hashtag F2B, post in the sandbox and go, is this coffee really this good? Listen to the commercial. And if that doesn't drive you, just go, man, is it really? It is the best coffee in the world. Promo code F2B blend. There you go. Get you a discount. It is the best coffee in the world. We have emergency coffee over at the house. And emergency coffee, just in case, right? And about a month ago, we had to break it out. We ran out of Fade to Black blend. It just happened, right? And I was like, oh, no. Panic. And we went to our Old Faithful, and I hate to say it, Starbucks, French roast, Starbucks, broke it out, and I cannot believe I used to like that coffee. I can't believe it. I used to think that was the standard. It's garbage. Well, sorry, Starbucks. But Fade to Black blend is that good. River Moon Coffee. And also New Pharma, GNU Pharma. New Pharma. I'm going down our sponsors list. New Pharma. Okay, that promo code F2B is going to get 33% off of your order. 33% off. You get dealer cost on their products with the promo code F2B. Get the foundation. Start there. That's what I would do. Go to New Pharma, get the foundation. Input the promo code and look what that bottle cost you. A month's supply. You're going to freak out how inexpensive it is. Get on the program. Ancient Life Oil, CBDs. It's all the rage. I do CBDs every single day. All right? CBD. Start balancing out your system. Start fixing yourself. Right? CBD, Ancient Life Oil, right there. And I think you're going to get free shipping too. Sacred Skulls. Sacred Skull. Oh, I don't have my Sacred Skull in the bunker today. It's over at the house. Sacred Skulls. Artwork. Right? Artwork. Go to sacredskulls.com. Sacred Skulls. 15% off. All you have to do is mention Jimmy or Fade to Black. Studio Dome speakers. These sponsors have been with us for a long time, and they are here because of you. It's a family. Next month, we have a couple of more sponsors, new sponsors that are coming in. And why? It's because it's a family. And if I use the product, if it is something that I use and that I can get behind and I can stand behind, then they become a sponsor. We just don't take the money. We don't do it. That's not how we work here. All right? So please support yourself. Take care of yourself with one of our sponsors. Go visit them today. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, the one and only Sophia Loren is 83. Sophia Loren. Author George R.R. Martin. Yeah, Game of Thrones. Today is 69 years old. You know what he drives? I don't know if you know this. You know what he drives? He drives a DeLorean, Back to the Future DeLorean. That's what he drives. That's what dude drives. I suppose I would too if I could. All right. OTD. On this day in history, OTD, 1963. Speaking at the United Nations, President John F. Kennedy suggests that the Soviet Union and the United States get together and cooperate on a mission to the moon. Now, the proposal caught both the Soviets and the Americans off guard. Nobody knew that this was coming, right? Freaked everybody out. And it was a pretty good proposal if you stop and think about it. We won the space race, but nonetheless, and then lost it, but nonetheless, this is the strange part. It was on this day in 1963. 2 months later, he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. There you go. On this day in history. Fate or fact? All right. I'm doing this for my daughters and my wife. Fate or fact? The Japanese word for handbag is handubagu. That is a fate or fact. Tonight, very special guest Sharron Rose is going to be with us in just a few short minutes at the bottom of the hour, and we are going on a history lesson. Ancient Egypt to India, the divine feminine history. Tomorrow night's another Fate or Night with John Rappaport, and there's No More Fake Newsroom live. And this weekend, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM. Now, for almost 2 weeks now, Equifax has been now, and you remember what happened, right? Half of America, their 140 million Social Security numbers were released onto the darknet. Hacked. Equifax hacked. Right? Your information is in the hands of the dark web right now. And if you're one of the lucky ones, well, the other person sitting with you, your friend, your boss, your coworker, your son, daughter, their information has been compromised. Okay? Now, for almost 2 weeks, Equifax has been sending people affected by their massive security breach to a bogus website. The non-malicious creator of the imposter site was out to prove a point about Equifax's model for post-breach consumer assistance. Now, in a tweet yesterday, an Equifax representative who went by the name Tim, now just insert a Monty Python reference right there, wrote yesterday, "Hi, for more information about the product and enrollment, please visit securityequifax2017.com. Now, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because I visited it. Okay, more on that in just a bit. I tried to register, right? The tweet was sent out in response to a question about Equifax's free credit monitoring program for consumers affected by the company's recent data breach. Now, the only problem is that not the original URL and website the embattled company set up for consumers. It's not the original one. Equifax's official site information related to the incident is called Equifax Security 2017. Do you get it? Do you understand? The tweet was deleted on Wednesday morning, today, but was live on the internet for almost 18 hours straight. Now, it gets worse. 8 tweets in all were sent out by Equifax, directing people to the fake site. And this fake site has been up since September 9th. As of showtime tonight, the remaining 7 tweets directing customers to the wrong site were still live. The lookalike website's URL is titled Security Equifax 2017 and was created by developer Nick Sweeting. Sweeting created the site to point out the danger of Equifax's decision to create a portal called Equifax Security 2017 because of fears that malicious hackers could easily dupe people and steal their information again by simply creating a lookalike site, as Sweeting did when he switched around the word security and Equifax. Sweeting says that his intentions were purely to point out that Equifax acted recklessly in their handling of the people's information after the incident earlier this month. And they did. Why? Because I went and tried to register myself. And I was a bit confused because Equifax was literally saying, and if you went to, and I double checked, this is what I did. I saw the original Equifax tweet. I then went to a bunch of different mainstream media websites that had the Equifax story in it. And in that story, it said Equifax has created a free credit reporting service. All you have to do is click here. And this was in the mainstream media all the way around. I'm like, okay, all right. So I was clicking on the Equifax website, and it took me to a site that just didn't feel right, didn't look right. I'm thinking, man, Equifax, what's going on here? So then I went to the mainstream media sites. I'm thinking, this has got to be safe. They know what they're doing, right? I clicked on those, and they were taking me to this bogus website. And in fact, I think a fourth site, I'm not going to say who it was, took me to another site altogether, and that flagged my software, my virus software. Now I'm thinking, what's going on here? Is the Equifax story true, right? Is the links here, what is going on? And it says Equifax Security. I go to the Equifax website. They've got a link there, and it's taking me over to what appears to be the same bogus website. I didn't know what was going on. When I went to, and I attempted to log in and register, it wouldn't do it. And it kept kicking me back out from the Equifax website, kicking me out, and then to another website. And then on my screen, I was getting spam ads popping up. You know, the old days. Now, I've got pretty severe software that I run here. Okay? I feel like I'm pretty locked down. As locked down as one can be, right? Okay. I haven't seen spam ads pop up on a screen in a long time. And I was getting it from the Equifax website. Something was funky, right? Now, Sweeting, although he said he had the best of intentions, and I get that. I'm quoting here. He said, it's in everyone's interest to get Equifax to change this site to a reputable domain. And I thought the same thing. What is this Security Equifax 2017 or Equifax Security 2017? It's like this weird, it's a weird, you know, why not have it inside the Equifax website? You go to Equifax, their website, and you click on a link that literally says sign up here, right? And it doesn't take you out to some subdomain, another website. Stay inside. It's crazy, right? So he went on to say, I knew it would only cost me $10 to set up a site that would get people to notice, so I just did it. Trippy, right? The developer commented on the real threats facing people who choose to continue visiting Equifax's website. It only took me 20 minutes to build my clone. I can guarantee that there are real malicious phishing versions already out there. Right after Equifax announced their epic data breach earlier this month, they started sending customers affected by the breach to EquifaxSecurity2017.com in order to offer those affected by the incident the chance to enroll in identity theft protection services and post updates on the entire incident itself. The massive breach, which exposed highly confidential information such as people's social security numbers, affected over 140 million customers in the United States, consumers. 140 million. And I'm here to tell you, I could not register. Every site that I went from Equifax, an Equifax tweet, an Equifax press release, any mainstream media website, everything that I did steered me in another direction. It was all bogus. It was all bogus. Somebody went in, and I'm telling you, that Equifax Security, it's called EquifaxSecurity2017.com, their website, I think that is compromised. I could not get through. It's absolutely bizarre. Now, on another note, I made a comment about this last night, and I want to follow up on this before I get Sharron in here. The entire fake news situation that we dealt with in 2016, and now, which forces us to, and I swear, if I see mainstream media on television, I know what I'm being told to is a lie. I just know. It's just all, you know, but I need to go there. I need updates. I want to know what's going on with these hurricanes and Mexico City and some of this, these natural disasters that are going on in the world. You have to. And then when that is interplayed in between, and it doesn't matter what network you're on, then they go to, all of this bogus opinionated talking head stuff that is going on with the United Nations or Trump or Syria. It's just all bogus stuff. It's just all BS. And this thing popped up with CNN about Manafort's phones being tapped. Now, what is bizarre here is if you are one of the other news outlets, or if you're Trump, or if you are a supporter on that side, it doesn't matter. I'm not a supporter of either. What do you believe? Now you are forced into, because everybody was pointing fingers for so long about fake news here, fake news there, this is fake news. Now everybody is forced into saying this. And especially if you are a Trump supporter, you are forced into going, well, it's all BS from CNN. But this is true. And see, we told you this was going on all along. And it's got everybody's heads on a swivel. Now it's gone back and forth so many times. Now you don't know what to believe. And if you are forced into saying, well, everything was bogus, but this is real, if that is the position that you want to take, then you are damaged. Your opinion doesn't matter. It's tough, man. And it goes to show everything that I had talked about in all of 2016. You don't know what to believe. So with this story here, right, with the phone tapping, which may be true, it may be an actual real story. Flip that over 180 degrees. This may be true story off of CNN, of all the networks, right, of all of them. What is the real truth behind it? That's the bizarre situation we find ourselves in today. We don't know what's going on. And seriously, take my original advice. Just don't watch it at all. Man, just watch it for the real stuff. What's the real stuff? We've got natural disasters going on. We've got craziness in Mexico City with that earthquake. We have hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. Things are nuts. Watch it for that, if you need to. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Truly bespoke radio for the masses. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes with our guest, Sharron Rose. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply, and of course the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Just love saying that, Fade to Black. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet, you can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Use hashtag F2B for the sandbox. Come and hang out with us. We have all of the chat rooms live and open. If 140 characters doesn't work for you, it's all good. Come and hang out with us. Everything is interactive on this show. Tonight, our guest is Sharron Rose. She is a true Renaissance woman. Now, she received her diploma from the Peabody Conservatory of Music, a BA in theater from the University of Maryland, and an MA in education from George Washington University, then became a member of the New York City's vital dance, theater, performance, art scene, filmmaker, choreographer, composer, author, teacher, performer. She transits the worlds of art and commerce in a unique and compelling way. Now, in the realm of filmmaking, Sharron is also a producer of the visionary feature film The Last Avatar. Writer, director, host of the documentary films 2012, The Odyssey, and Time Wave 2013. She is the executive producer of the documentary Infinity, The Ultimate Trip, and producer of the films in the Sacred Mysteries DVD collection. Since 2000, she has been president of the film distribution company Sacred Mysteries Distribution and VP of Sacred Mysteries Productions. She is the author of the award-winning book, The Path of the Priestess, a guidebook for awakening the divine feminine. Tonight, we're going to do all of that. We're going to go back in history. We're going to discuss the divine feminine from ancient Egypt to India, all the way through to today and current world events. This will be a true not-to-miss show this evening. Her website is sacredmysteries.com, and I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Sharron Rose. Sharron, good evening.
Good evening. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
The honor and pleasure is all ours. But Sharron, tonight, because you're a first-time guest, you get the first-time guest disclaimer, which is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
Certainly.
Now, Sharron, certainly. The path that one takes throughout life, and I do want to start here because I look back, and we were talking about this before the show. Our parents influence us, our family influences how we grow up and where we grow up. Take us back there, because where you are today, you're in a unique position to spread knowledge throughout the world, but you got here somehow. How did you grow up? What were your parents like? Did they have an open mind, or did you do all of this on your own?
Well, we could say part of it is karma. But I came into a upper middle class Jewish family in Baltimore. My mom had gone to college at 14. She had also been a tap dancer. So the minute, let's see, at 9 months I started walking, and the minute I started walking, she taught me to dance. She had a very powerful impact on me. She took me to schlepping, she would call it, to dance classes, singing classes, acting classes throughout my childhood. And all of those things gave me a really unique perspective on reality. My dad, at the same time, had a chain of supermarkets in Baltimore, all in the black neighborhoods. So very young, I was surrounded by African American culture, and due to him, I believe, and her, I believe that I was raised without a sense of difference,
right,
without a sense of prejudice. I'm very grateful to them for that, and also for the incredible artistic training. I mean, my dad, of course, supported financially all of this training. So, but at the same time, I was a little odd. They were Jewish family. Here I am going off into India and Tibet, all of these different countries. So my mom hung in there with me. My dad at times thought I was really strange.
Now,
but still,
go ahead.
Throughout all this, I felt their love and support of them and my family.
And that's the creative side, the artistic side. And then we have the supernatural. I'm just using generic terms here. The supernatural, the alchemy, the mystery schools, and everything else that you speak about with such clarity. How are they with that side? Was there an alchemical side to a Jewish upbringing in the Northeast?
Not really. My mom always does her best to understand who I am, and she'll talk to me about these things, but they're very embedded in the Jewish tradition. She was happy when I discovered the Shekhinah, and she loves my scholarly work, and, they just deal with me.
And I'm very curious, because when somebody has the turn in life where you have a decision to make and you go into the mystery schools and that kind of history, what happened for you? Did something happen in your life that was maybe supernatural that you couldn't explain?
Oh, goodness. I was trained very young. I would say starting in acting school. We were trained we had exercises like go to the mall, sit there and look at everybody. Look at how they walk. Look at how they hold their bodies. Look at the expressions on their faces. And I think that was the beginning of my pursuit of the world of healing, the world of energy medicine. And actually, no, there is metaphysical. My grandmother, my dad's mother, Rose, she was very much into tarot, some metaphysics, things like that. So that was there. And there is a psychic line, I would say, through my dad's family. A lot of them had red hair. Red hair people are really known for their psychic abilities. So, but I would say that the real beginning happened in the, let's see, when was this? This was about 76. It was a time, as you recall,
yes,
you might recall, of psychedelics. So I took a bunch of mushrooms, and I had this, it felt like I was dying. Everything, the whole world started dissolving around me. And then the next thing I knew, I was a goddess, and I was sitting there. In front of me in the sky was Shiva, and I was doing Indian dance, which I was a modern dancer and a ballet dancer. I really didn't know anything about Indian dance, but it seemed that every gesture, every mudra, every posture I was doing was actually creating the reality around me. And that was the beginning of an extraordinary journey in my life that led me to India to be with my teacher, Sitara Devi, who was an early Bollywood star, a tantrika, queen of North Indian classical dance. And I got to live one-to-one. She gave away the rest of her students when I went to live with her. And I got what we refer to as a direct transmission of knowledge.
That's a really good place to go to first, not only for you in life, but also for this show in conversation. And I'm going to say this, when you discover India and you start to understand the culture and how old it is and what it represents, my take is this: India is ignored. It's ignored. It's ignored in popular culture. It's ignored in the history books. And what I mean by that is it's easy to make the references to Egypt or to Greece or to Rome, and that's the simple road to go. India tends to be ignored. Was it brand new to you as well? And did you see that sense of wonderment because it's basically ignored in our history books over here?
Well, I first encountered the teachings of India. When was that? When I went to New York, so that was 1974, and that's when I encountered meditation and yoga. And so during that time, India was Indian music and meditation and yoga were just coming in to the West. So that was the beginning of it. But to be in India, and I'm very grateful I was supported by fellowships from the American government for all my work in India. So they did a wonderful thing. But living amidst this culture, well, I was just like a sponge. I was so excited, and also I was very blessed in that my teacher was part of this whole milieu of being friends with people like Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan, the very, very famous musician Zakir Hussain. And so I was immersed in this very high level of artistry. And if you know Indian music, it goes back and back, same as dance, back and back and back. I mean, the dance is North Indian dance, Kathak, is a transformational tantric form in which you are the storyteller. You become all of the deities and the demons and the animals in the stories. Actually, that's how the Vedic tradition was transmitted to the general public in India. So not only did I become immersed in what it felt like to be an Indian woman. My teacher, she told me, we're throwing away all your Western clothes. You can only dress in a sari. You have to understand what it feels like to be the goddess, what it feels like to be an Indian woman. So it was an extraordinary adventure.
How long did that teaching go on for?
Well, I lived with her for 8 months. Then she came to visit me in the U.S. I went back, and then I had this senior Fulbright. So I was in India over 5 years, about half the time, learning this dance and the mythology and the music and the rhythm. This is a unbroken lineage. It means that it's gone from teacher to student for thousands of years.
Right.
And it had been what they call ear whispered, where you're getting the direct transmission from the teacher.
So you were, along with the dance and being transformed, that's pretty interesting. All of your Western clothes, those go in the trash or get put away, and you become an Indian woman. Did you feel that you made that transformation, and what was that like?
Part of it, there is this incredible book, the Natya Shastra, which they call the Fifth Veda, which is a text on Indian dance music, etc., and another one called the Abhinaya Darpana. So those are about there are 42 different expressions of the eyes and the emotion, each connected with a different emotional state. So that was one of the mechanisms through which I learned how to embody. It wasn't just your average Indian woman. I was learning to embody the goddess, the deities. And what's interesting is that, because I had come out of modern dance, the first dance that my teacher taught me was of the god Shiva, a male, because she said I danced and walked and acted like a man, that Western women were more masculine. And so it took a long time, over months. I was trained and went through a lot of inner work to soften, to find a level of grace. At the same time, to transform into like the goddess Durga, the wrathful, powerful one, or, the sensuous Lakshmi. It was a really amazing experience that transformed my life and gave me the basis from which I could look at all these different cultures, India, Tibet, Gnosticism, and Kabbalah, and actually now I'm doing a film on Qigong and Taoism.
Now, did you understand the masculine and feminine before you went to India? Or actually, the question is this. Your understanding of it, did it turn out to be all wrong?
It certainly was different.
Right.
Different. Well, first of all, I went to college in '66, so there was the Vietnam War going on and the feminist movement. And like many women, I was excited by it. It seemed like we were breaking free of what we felt were the bonds that held women. And from this perspective, after so many years, I see the benefits, but I also see the problems that came about through feminism.
And that's what I'm referring to right there. I'm glad you got it. What was going on here, and you go there. Feminine over there through ancient culture is not the feminine that was being protested here in the United States, right or wrong, but it was two different things, wasn't it?
It was very, very different. Although, the patriarchy, we're in the time, hopefully we're going to move out of it, but we're still in this patriarchal, war-based world. So even in India, I was fortunate. All my life I've been fortunate to be with artists. And artists, are different. They have different sensibility, different take on reality and generally, at least the artists that I associate with, are doing their best to bring people together to, I would say that my work in general from the beginning, I remember everybody was out protesting then. Here's an example. They're all out protesting, and they're saying, and I'm like, I'm not going. They're like, why? I said, well, because I'm going to do everything to perfect my art so that I will be able to speak through it. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
I remember, I'll trip you out. I was probably, I'm probably 7 or 8 years old, right? And I'm living on campus or at the edge of Western Michigan University. My dad's going to school. He's going back for his degree in music. So I go down, and I'm just a kid, and there's a protest going on down at these mirror pools in front of the main building there at Western Michigan. And I go down, and I'm looking, approaching me, and I see the protesters behind with the signs and everything. There's a couple of thousand, but approaching me is about maybe 100 hippies locked arm in arm in a line, and they're coming up across this field, and I'm walking towards them, and it's the whole thing. It's the leather jackets with the fringe, and the belts and the bell bottoms, and headbands and the whole trip, right? Anyway, they're walking toward, and I walk up and I said, "What are you guys doing?" And I thought, man, this looks kind of cool. And somebody said to me, "We're protesting the war, man." And they walked past me, and I thought, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. They're arm in arm, and they're protesting, and it's supposed to be crazy, and it wasn't. But that's what was going on in 1969, 1970 here in the United States. And I was witness to all of this. The children today, society today doesn't really understand what the 60s were actually like. It's like a distant memory.
Well, the 60s, there was this incredible opening. And what's really sad is that a lot of those people, instead of moving forth with that opening and continuing that opening, just fell into the cult of consumerism and the me generation. And I think that has led us to the difficulties we're in right now.
Yeah, and when we get back off of the break, we are going to talk about that. And I want to, before we get there, I want to discuss the divine feminine that you found and learned about in India compared to Egypt and ancient Egypt, because your research there is also second to none. Is it the same approach in both cultures? What did they understand so many thousands of years ago that we don't today? And did they approach it the same way?
Well, to me, Egypt is very interesting because when I look back into it, what it feels like is that the Egyptians came from another, maybe from Sirius, from another star system or even another dimension, because it seems like if you look back to beginnings, it seems like they were newly embodied and they had a reverence for the physical body as though it was the temple of the spirit.
How so?
Well, if you look at the work of Schweller de Lubitz, he wrote The Temple of Man. The Temple of Man, which is the Temple of Luxor, was actually built in the shape of a human being, and all the different chambers where different initiations would take place were built upon the human body, were based upon the human body.
You're talking about from the entrance of the temple all the way to the back. And
yes.
if you looked at it from the air, yeah, exactly. Right.
And it seemed, if you look at their teachings, it seemed like they were newly embodied, that nature was extraordinary for them. I would say in the Indian culture too, if you go back, now we have to go back to the beginning of the yugas, of the cycles of time. And in those cycles of time, we start freshly, we are light. We come from light, and we're newly formed on the earth. We're not even completely material yet. And then as these ages unfold, we become more and more and more and more dense until here we are today, or we could say more and more and more and more veiled from our true nature. We fell into duality. So Egypt, if you look at even their netters, their gods, some of them are animal-headed.
Right.
And so what were they doing? And even in ancient India, the same, in Tibet, in shamanic cultures, they were amazed at the powers of nature. And I would say they worshipped the powers of nature and felt as human beings that they were part of the natural world, which is something that we have become so divorced from today.
And Egypt went through a couple of phases too as well. When you look at the the way that they approach things in the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom, the duality went away and then came back, and that lasted for a couple of 100 years. And the way that they approached the feminine and masculine came and went a couple of different times, all the way through. And when he went to the New Kingdom, it seemed like they were pretty solid with the feminine side of things, and they were okay with it. But they had to learn those lessons too. Did India go through those same phases?
Yes. Well, if you look at the tantric tradition, which is the worship of the divine feminine completely. But I can't say it always went through the entire society. Wherever in any of these cultures, there were, I would say, the most secret, sacred groups that really still understood the ancient teachings and the power of the divine feminine. Because the divine feminine, if you really go deep, the divine feminine is light. Shakti. Shakti is the light of consciousness, the light of love, the light of truth, the light of integrity, the light of virtue. Shakti is like Shekhinah of the Hebrews, is the immanence, the divine immanence. And so the worship of the goddess, the goddess herself is just symbolic representation of one's own actual divine nature, whether male or female.
Right. And we're going to take a break right here because when we come back, we're going to pick up right where we're leaving off. Well, you know what? Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. I was going to actually start the next segment right now. Let's do we'll pick up where we left off right after this short break. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. We are doing a history lesson tonight. Absolutely. Ancient Egypt, India, all the way through today with the history of and the awakening of the divine feminine. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out.
The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. Follow me on Twitter, @JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Come and hang out with us. All the chat rooms are open over at KGRA and Spreaker, and everything is interactive. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Now, Sharron, this is what I was leading into right at the break. And I'm getting a weird echo, by the way, Sharron, on my voice. Close the phone closer to your ear. I think it's bleeding into the other end of the phone, but that's okay. The guy out there, the masculine guy that's listening to this show right now, is probably thinking this thought: I'm a masculine, I'm a man. I don't need this feminine thing. They don't understand what we are talking about. So let's start here. When we are talking about feminine and masculine, we are not talking about giving up your masculine side of your own self. We're talking about the world and cultures in general. So help us out. What is the definition of the masculine and the feminine?
Oh, what a question.
Yeah, we have to do it.
Let's start by my acknowledging my beloved masculine counterpart, Jay Widener.
Right. Oh man!
Look, we're embodied differently. We have different structure. If you really think about this, think about the father and think about the mother. I feel like all those those lines are getting blurred these days, and it's beautiful that women that were taking on some of the aspects of the other, but at the same time, right now, I feel like there is a longing for the mother, a longing for that place of where you feel like you're just being held and cared for and seen and appreciated and loved. That has always been the traditional role of the woman.
And and going back to what the ancients understood about that and balancing that in their cultures, we got away from that. What is it that all of those ancient cultures understood about having that balance?
We could go back to the hunter-gatherers, where the men were out hunting and the women were gathering. The women were caring for the children. I mean, a woman's body is an incredible alchemical vessel. It's through her body that birth, that life comes forth. And that was appreciated. Women in the ancient traditions were the mediators. They were the initiators into the sexual mysteries. They were healers. They helped with the passages between, life and death and birth. And the men really kind of supported that. The men, it's like in some, there were, of course, men who were spiritually oriented, always. So I just feel that right now there is a tremendous amount of confusion over masculinity and femininity and just gender in general.
Over the last 40 years, when I say 40 years, this is my own experience and what I have seen, the way that I remember growing up versus today, we have gone completely haywire. And is it a breakdown of the family unit, the masculine and the feminine? And I don't want to talk about hardcore roles here, but what I mean is our last few generations have lost sight of that, and we came off the rails very, very, very quickly. And those morals and things are not taught anymore. Is that what is going on?
That is definitely what's going on. If you look at the ancient teachings from many, many traditions, you see that they speak about this time as the time of the world turned upside down, where the lie becomes the truth. Fake news, honey.
Right.
And at the same time, it's a great alchemical transmutation where it's like all the darkness is coming up to be liberated. We hope. That's what they say in this time of great purification. But we are so caught. The real mechanism of the disturbances and the polarity and the divisiveness, of course, is the media. The media has been able to. So let's go back. So when I was writing The Path of the Priestess, I used a phrase called the psychic, energetic, emotional landscape of society. And in the ancient traditions, it was the woman's role to keep that in balance. And right now, it feels like that is so out of balance. Women, we'll go into the feminist movement here. We burned our bras. We rebelled against the consumerism. We rebelled against, being stuck in the home, having children, and we rebelled against all that. But I can't, honestly, a lot of women my age who fell for it went into the corporate world, who emulated men, who wanted to be men, are very lonely and unhappy right now.
And is the same, and I want to stay on this too as well, but is the same breakdown going on in some of the countries around the world that have an old culture? We're only 200 years old here. We don't know what we're doing. We don't have a culture. But is the same breakdown happening in India or across Europe where some of these cultures go back 1,000-2,000 years?
Of course, it's happening everywhere. It's the nature of the times we live in.
Is it because they wanted to follow what we were doing here in the United States with the feminist movement of the 60s and 70s?
Oh, that could be part of it. I think it's just, I would say it's consumerism. I think the materialism, the desire for and the attachment to things has just taken over the world, and I think that has to do with, my son went to a Waldorf school, so they weren't allowed to watch TV really until they were in 6th grade because they didn't want to have an effect on their innate creativity.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we are being imprinted. Everything we watch, the media is creating this phantasm and taking us away completely from our true nature, whether male, female, or other. It's taking us into the realms of desire and anger and attachment and frustration, and just you see it going on. It's everywhere. Look what's going on in Europe with women. That's something about the feminist movement that really concerns me, because we fought for equality and a level of freedom economically and in our lives. And right now, I've talked to women in Germany who are afraid to go out on the street. A woman that works with refugee women who are terrified.
Terrified of what?
Well, they're terrified. They've been told that if they... this is a psychiatrist. They've been told that if they integrate into the culture, that they will be sent home and punished.
You're talking about the refugees.
Yeah, my heart goes for them. You know, I've seen it in India. I've seen it all over. At the same time, there should be a way. We need to go beyond all of this. My culture, your culture, we have to go beyond the stuckness we're in, the anger we're in, the hatred we're in, to a place where there is a balance again, where we really see each other beyond the veils, beyond all of the garbage, I'd call it, that we are being, that's being fed to us, that divides us, that I would say, honestly, I feel that men in the West have become, they've really changed. They're much more grateful and see women, they're polite. I see a lot more of that in the West than I did in India. Or I worked a lot with Middle Eastern men when I was doing my Egyptian work. And, I mean, they were artists, so it's a little different. But in general, those old patriarchal values and are still going on. And it's like, well, what can we do? How do we solve this conundrum of, two very, very different cultures, coming together and just not being able to find common ground?
And let me ask you this: when we talk about the feminine, and certainly with governments and the way that ancient Egypt and India and these leaders and goddesses and gods, that was one thing. Today, where we have somebody like Merkel, who is a woman running Germany. Is she representing the divine feminine, or Theresa May, or some of these other leaders around the world, or are they masculine?
They're politicians,
right? Are they masculine?
They're politicians.
Are they?
They're very masculine. Do you ever see them wearing a dress?
Right.
Very rare. They feel like that's when I wrote my book. That was one of the points I was trying to make. It was like in the modern world, in this society. And now it's happening all over the place. It's like women began to emulate men and forgetting their inclusive, truly compassionate qualities.
The nurturing side. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when you look at nature, forget about humans. You look at nature, and you've got a couple of birds in a nest, right? Right, and the mom is making sure that those little babies are fed, and they're going to learn to fly, and they're going to go out and figure out the world because and dad is bringing the food into the net. You know what I mean? And building, and there's a basic thing that goes on there. And when we look at these other world leaders, and I'm bringing up Merkel specifically, or Theresa May, where the men out there are going to say, see, women are representing the women. and they have an equal shot, but it's not really the case, is it? They are masculine in a woman's body. And am I wrong to look at things that way? That's what I think is going on.
I would agree with you. As I said, women, these women that go into politics they're going into what was a man's world. I mean, it wasn't always a man's world. In shamanic societies and ancient societies, it wasn't. Women actually were the mediators. They were there to assist, to help, to bring some kind of harmony and balance into the situation. Now, women have become warmongers. That is so, although they'll talk about Amazon women and all this, but I don't think women who bring children into the world, I don't think that war is in their true nature, unless they're in a situation where they have to defend their children
or their house,
families,
right? Yeah, or their home. The where does this? We're not born that way. Where does this start? I had read today, leading up to the show. I wanted to share this with you. This is a really trippy fact. This is a fact that children are not understanding of competition and war until the age of 4. They're not. They don't even understand. They don't even relate to it. And then something happens after the. But up until then, even if you try to teach it to them, they don't understand it. They don't get it. It's a pretty fascinating thing. So apparently, somewhere around the age of 4 or 5, kindergarten, right? things start to go wrong, don't they?
Well, they start becoming socialized, right? Prior to that, I mean, you start from, in some ways, socialized from the time you're born. But at that, I would say around that time, your cognition comes to where you can, take in all this information. I don't know these days with 3-year-olds using iPhones and computers, they're getting directly zapped with all this stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And now let's talk a little bit about what's going on today. It seems to me that not only you brought up fake news, but it seems that we have gone completely off the rails on every aspect of society. Doesn't matter if it's reality television, if it's sports, if it's government, if it's war, jobs, the weather, news. Everything now is confusing and off of the rails, like out of control, completely out of control. And I don't know how to get the cars back on the road. What is going on with the world? And this isn't a general statement. It's like everything has come unraveled and unglued.
I think this is partly the result of, the military-industrial complex and the cult of consumerism, the attachment. We can go from a very spiritual perspective, where we could say we're caught up in, from the Tibetan tradition, what would call the 3 poisons: anger, attachment, and ignorance. And ignorance does not mean, you're stupid. Ignorance means that you're so caught in the phantasm around you. You're so caught in the fear that's being projected out in the world right now, the media, that you can't connect with your essential light, your soul, that goes way beyond. We can start there. We can talk about the fact that most people many people, and this is the work I'm doing now to bring these teachings forth, many people think that we're just this material physical body. There's no energy body, there's no emotional body, there's no mental body. They have nothing to do with it. And it's just this life, this only life, and you have to get everything you can, accumulate as much as possible. And, a successful life is to be extraordinary, be a billionaire like Bill Gates, and then to learn, become transhuman and, part robot and find a way to live forever downloading your your consciousness into a computer.
And consumerism, that model, that engine, which started a couple of hundred years ago, certainly since 1900 in the Industrial Revolution and the way that, electricity and everything else that has happened since then, the model of consumerism, to build more, you make more money, to buy more, to borrow more, to spend more, that model is what they wanted. It's what they and today that model is proving to the only answer to it is to explode and implode onto itself. It can't continue. But that's the model that they wanted. And today the unraveling of society is proving that maybe we've got this just a little bit wrong. Now, the vast majority, Sharron, and I'm talking about 99% of the United States, would not even want to listen to you and I. They won't. They are so ingrained. It's just like North Korea. You've been taught everything since birth, right? That's all you understand. And they would choose not to listen to us to continue on the treadmill. And that's the problem. How do we fix that?
Well, I would ask those people, are you happy? Do you enjoy your life? Most of these, so let's go here. This election really has divided the country. I follow the, Buddhist and Taoist paths of balance. So if you look at the yin-yang symbol, follow the center path. That's not the black or the white, but what's in between. And people have become so divided that even those of us, there are many that say they're following spiritual paths, yet will not listen, will not open their minds to the other side. They are caught in such anger and such what I would call suffering. There is a concept in the Bun shamanic tradition of Tibet put forth by my teacher Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche of the pain body, the pain speech, and the pain mind. And I feel like our whole society, clearly there are those of us who are spiritual practitioners who are actually on a path. But in general, society is so caught in suffering and pain that they're actually addicted to it. They're addicted to the drama. They're addicted to the emotional stuff that they can't even see beyond it. So how do we get beyond it? We have to come back to our true nature.
Well, it's a hard lesson for everybody to learn, isn't it? You get to, you're taught, that you have to do this. You have to consume. You will be happy after you get the 4-car garage and the 4 cars in the driveway. And that will be the completion of life. You get to the age of 60, you look around, you've got the house, you've got the cars, and you say to yourself, I wasted my entire life because right now I'm not happy. This was not what I thought life was supposed to be, but it's a life wasted, right? That's exactly what goes on.
You're going to die, and you can't take these things with you. right? You can't take them. When I've been talking to the Taoist masters, because I'm doing this film called Quantum Chi, the Taoist art of nurturing life, and they are the happiest. I've taken teachings and done practices from many different traditions, and these are the happiest people. They're very embodied. That's the other thing that's going on now, is that we're disembodied. We spend more time looking into a computer screen than we do out in nature walking. Our chi is being drained. Our life energy, our vital energy is just being drained. Honestly, I have to tell you that with everything going on, it makes one wonder if there is, if there is something going on like a terraforming of the earth by beings that really do not have our best interests at heart.
Yeah. Yeah, and the examples of it are everywhere. I stumbled into it. I wasn't taught this, right? I stumbled into awareness where I found that I was physically changed by certain things in a technological society. And when I turned off those certain things, I physically changed. I felt better. Right? And it is an amazing thing. Now, I stumbled onto it. I got lucky. But as soon as I took out those negative elements of my life, I physically changed. Sharron, I am telling you, I felt better. And when I go and I dabble into the negativity, I get sick. I change.
Yeah, that's right. How can you? We're in a society where there are not, although there's a whole group that is, it's shifting in some ways with, energy medicine and acupuncture and all these alternatives. But we're in a society where you're told, oh, I have an ache. Okay, take a pill.
Yes.
You don't have to deal with it. We think that we can take a pill. We don't even realize that our thoughts have an effect on our emotions, which have an effect on our physical body. The Taoists will tell you that each organ, like the liver, holds anger. And there are all these techniques that you transform that into kindness. There's such incredible knowledge that is there for humanity. You only have to lift the veil and start looking, start feeling, and get into your body.
You have to do just that. Let's talk more about that after the break. But it's a transformation that I did, and I found it by accident. I backed my car over it, right? I literally didn't see it. And I am different today. We'll talk more about it after the break. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And now, check this out. Sharron, what's your Twitter?
I don't have a Twitter.
Okay.
That's Facebook.
That's a great answer right there. Now, check this out. Internal alchemy. Let me tell you how I found myself, and you're gonna laugh, and then we're gonna take your view of this because somebody just tweeted. Kim said, she said she wants to hear about Jimmy's transformation. Well, this is, like I said, I did it by accident, but this is what I do today. I found out that negativity in my life is I eliminate it. If I have somebody around me, Sharron, that even breathes negativity, done. No phone calls, no email. I eliminate it, and I am clean. I am pure. Any negative email, any negative reference, any negative conversation in person, face to face. If you hint on that, you are done. You're a canceled check. Right? And I did it by accident. And I found that getting negativity out of my life in any element is, and of course, finding your bliss and everything else, that certainly helps. But this internal alchemy, I found out by myself. It was a crazy transformation. And because of that, when people speak of it, like yourself, I get it. I listen and I understand it and I practice it. Isn't that interesting? I found out all on my own, and now I listen. I found out the hard way.
So how did you clear yourself from, we are being conditioned to feel negativity, to express negativity. So how did you clear yourself of that?
Right. And so I practice it too as well, in that I'm not negative at all. I don't respond to it. I don't engage in it. I don't discuss it. But this is, let me tell you, the part of the clearing. About 5 years ago, Rita and I left, right, for 5 days. We had business to do. And while we were gone, those 5 days, I didn't do mainstream news. I didn't do the internet. I didn't look at my cell phone. We were in a situation where we didn't have a television set in our hotel room, believe it or not, right? So totally disengaged. And over those 4 or 5 days, the happiness level went up every single day. Exponentially. We got back to civilization and turned on TVs and internet and geared up for the show and reading the news and everything. And that happiness level went right back down. And I was like, wait a minute here. Look what happened. It is literally programmed into us our entire life. Everything around you, the car radio, the news, the interactions with people, was all negative. It was amazing. I could look around and hear what people are saying, and I'm talking about face-to-face interactions. It was all negative. It was a crazy awakening. It was an awareness, and that's where the cleansing started. And it's a painful process to go through. But once you recognize it and you see that that's what's making you sick, that's what's making you fight with your children or your wife or your parents or your coworkers, and they are doing the same thing back to you. Once you recognize it, then you can stop doing it. It's an amazing thing. It was amazing.
Yes. It truly is. It truly is. In many of the traditions, the way that this is shifted is that you're actually introduced by the teacher to what's called the nature of your mind, the clear, pure. It's like a mirror, and once you're given that initiation, that becomes like a beacon of light within you, from that you hold onto, that clarity, that stillness within, and then that becomes more and more and more a part of your life, where the outside distractions are not important. The inner, you turn. There's a text that I was told about called the Cantong Chi, and it says, "Turn the light of consciousness around." So instead of focusing on all that outer, you're focusing on the inner, of distilling the inner, of holding to your inner light, that goodness, that love that exists within the heart of every human being. And that becomes, the beacon by which you live and by which you look at everything else. You begin to really see. I live in nature. I live way up in the mountains. I live where all the electric and all that is buried underground, where the Wi-Fi is very little. And it is a different reality. And when I come out of that, what I see around me is so much suffering. And it's needless. It's needless. It doesn't have to be. We have been given this precious human birth, and we don't have to. The Buddha would, all life is suffering, but there is something beyond the suffering. But we have to have the courage to turn off the TV. We have to have the courage, or at least turn off, there are positive shows. Why is it? Here's a question. Why are there so many? If you look at some of these, like Netflix and stuff, it's like so much obsession with horror movies and war movies and torture movies, and I mean, where is all the beauty? Where is it? Why aren't we experiencing that? Why aren't they bringing that forth?
And it's there. I mean, you can find it if you go and search it, but it's certainly not what the consumers want, and we are a money-driven society. And this is what's crazy, Sharron. You know that there are boardrooms right now in Hollywood where there are 10, 20 vice presidents of production sitting around a table going, okay, what are you guys doing? And it's another horror film. It's another, it's this. It's how many movies about some crazy psychotic guy has a prison with 8 people in it. They have to kill each other to get out, and one survives. What the, and they are going, this is my next movie, and they know that they're going to make money on it, so that's what gets made. These crazy decisions are being made every single day, and that's what's being fed to the consumers. And it's a catch-22 cycle. It's a money machine that goes on and on and on. You're a filmmaker. You know what it takes to make a good film that is going to enlighten people. You know what the battle is. If you took one of your films to Sony, what would be the answer?
Exactly. Oh, they think I'm a wacko.
Exactly. It's really difficult.
You can heal yourself?
Right.
What? You don't need Western medicine? There are mechanisms by which, you can actually transmute disease in your body? What? But that won't make us any money. Self-healing? How are we going to make money off of self-healing?
And when let's start with self-healing. I always ask this from a guest, and I ask for definitions for the audience. When we're talking about self-healing, what is your definition?
So it's using, remember, I'm very immersed right now in Qigong, which is Chinese Taoist healing tradition, right? That empowers the individual. So self-healing is the ability to heal yourself. There's so much out there now so many techniques and different traditions that can bring you. Okay, so let's just go to Qigong. Qigong is a method by which you are channeling and harnessing universal life energy. You're harnessing it from the earth, from the sky, from all around you. It's there. As one of the masters says, Qi is free, no charge. Right? And so you learn to harness that. You learn to use your intention, to use, meditative experiences, to use visualization, to actually transmute your physical, emotional, mental bodies to find balance and happiness.
Do you need a masculine male partner to be feminine?
Well, the Buddhists and Tantrics would say that we're all essentially male and female. So that exists within us, but we're in a dual world. For my own experience, I love men. I love men, and I'm very female, just the way I am.
And I'm sure that there are women out there listening right now that maybe maybe they even live alone, right? And they are feminine and represent correctly, but they would say, well, you know what, I get it, but I'm cool with my lifestyle too. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Oh no, we've had, so many of us have had so much trauma And that trauma has effects on, who we are, especially as children, on who we become.
Right. And yeah. I get it. I totally get that. And there was something else I wanted to touch upon when we were talking about, and I said it myself, which is, the 4 cars and the 4-car garage and the goals in life that we are taught. That doesn't mean, and I don't want anybody out there to misunderstand what I am saying, because I love a V8 American classic muscle car, right? Okay, but that doesn't mean that that's what's going to make, I'm turning that into some kind of icon or something that I worship, and that's my goal in life. But I do appreciate jewelry. I do appreciate wearing. You've seen me share. You know that I like nice watches but those are things that make me happy, and I appreciate the artwork of it, and I appreciate the mechanics of a nice V8 or a Harley Davidson. But that doesn't mean that those are the things in life that are going to make me happy in the end. You're right. You can't take those things with you. But it's okay to have fine art and possessions and jewelry.
Of course. We live in this reality. So we're not going to, go off in a cave. All of the teachers, there are people that go off in caves and, have great insights from that. But most of the traditions I am a part of, it's taking that knowledge, keeping that balance within the material world. We're in a material world, and why shouldn't we appreciate? I love beautiful clothing. I like beautiful feminine clothing.
Yes, you do.
I want to bring that grace out in. That's how I display. Other people, like jeans, and that's how they display. That's their choice. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way we live. It really has to do more with the inner. Right. And who are we on the inner?
I'll tell you something really funny. The Met in New York, right? You go to the Met and you go to the ancient Egypt.
I love it.
Isn't it, though? It's the best. And you go there, and one of the things that you notice, and you go up to the displays of jewelry, and there's one display there that they have of it's 3 queens and their funerary garb, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes.
And their shoes, their sandals that they were buried in are these golden, how do I say it? Golden sandals, right? But it's like 24 karat gold, and it's so ornate and it's so beautiful. And the necklaces, the jewelry, the rings, the bracelets, the clothes, the headwear, they appreciated just that, right? And it is okay to have that, but you can't make it your goal in life. And that's not what they did, but they appreciated looking good and looking feminine and looking masculine. And that's it's such a joyous thing to see that they appreciated all of that. But yet they had that balance in life. They had the feminine, they had the masculine, and the respect of each other, which permeates through the culture itself. And they had that balance without the distractions that we have today.
Of course. I think I was, I was in India when, I didn't have a telephone. And the only way we could call the West, the U.S., was go stand in line for an hour while they did this hookup to the U.S. That wouldn't always go through, or you'd be talking and then it would end, right? It's really interesting to think back on the time before the, the cell phones and the smartphones, and I think that we were calmer. We didn't have all these things coming at us, these waves of, electromagnetic fields and all of the stuff coming at us the way we do now, which really keep us from recognizing our true nature and keeping us actually calm.
You know what? It's funny that you say that. And when I lived in Panama, right, in the Canal Zone, when we were down, this is 1977, 78, 79, 80, through that period, to make a call to the United States, you had to go to Western Union, no joke, Western Union, and pay for the call in advance and schedule it. So you would go home, and on Friday night at 8 p.m., the phone would ring. You'd pick it up, and it's Western Union, and they would make the connection back to the United States. It was such a pain in the ass, right, that we never did it. Yeah. If we called the United States, which was like 2 times a year, it was for something important, Christmas, somebody's birthday, or whatever. But that was it. Other than that, total disconnection. So that's the way that it was in the Canal Zone. There was nothing there. We had no cable TV. We had no television, so that we didn't watch TV. What we had was friendships, right? We went out and explored the world. And at a totally magical time. I came back to the United States and people were talking about TV shows. I'm like, when do you guys even care about TV? I never wanted to watch it. And it was an amazing thing to see because I was able to go in and out of that reality and experience both. I couldn't wait to get back to Panama and back to my friendships that I had down there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, now, kids sit at the dinner table texting their friends. They're not even in a relationship with the family.
No, not in my house, they don't. I can tell you that right now. Not in my house. Well, and is that part of, let's go back to this. When we look at ancient Egypt, let's talk about ancient Egypt, where obviously no television, right? That's a given, right? So
no book. I mean,
nothing.
The writing. Most people couldn't even. If there was writing, I mean, there were hieroglyphs, which are really interesting because you know that each hieroglyph, when you would touch, from what I've been told, you'd touch the hieroglyph and you would actually hear a sound.
Interesting. I have not heard that. I thought I was an Egyptologist. I have never heard that.
Really?
No, I know.
Yeah.
And you and I have had some...
And then every glyph has many meanings. The glyphs are symbols.
Right.
Right. So those symbols are created to connect you with a metaphysical reality.
Continue.
Right. A symbol has just so many meanings. For example, there is, I've been reconstructing the music, dance, and ritual from the goddess temples of Egypt, right?
Yes.
And so there is a glyph. It's the sound is sa, right? So, Sa on one level means protection, right?
Right.
But then on another level, it means like the sap of light, almost kind of like the Kundalini. And so to me, that says, what is the best protection? That inner light, that inner force that exists in the heart of every being. That's the best. To be connected to that, to your true nature, is the best protection you could possibly have.
It makes you wonder, too, how they communicated, and I'm talking about just conversation. They must have understood, just... Picture this in 2500 BC without anything else. All you had was people and relationships and understanding. And the conversation and the way that they communicated and understood each other was at a completely another level. You know, and I'm talking about a real supernatural thing that was going on. And it just slowly faded away. We have amnesia. We have amnesia today. We have no idea the way that they understood each other and understood themselves inside. It's completely gone. Do you think we'll ever get that back? And how would we do it? Would we have to just lose electricity? You know, I mean, how do we, you know what I mean?
We can make the choice at any moment. We have to realize that there's something more than this. Maybe when the suffering gets so bad, you know, we can also say that this is part of our karma. You know, that conditions come together when we get to a point where it's time to go in. It's time to awaken to our true self.
Right.
But I want to talk a little more about the symbols.
Yeah, let's. Well, we'll do that right after the break. We're going to hit a break here in just a second, and when we come back, I want to talk about the music too as well, because it's absolutely amazing. And can you? We talked about this briefly last month, you and I. Is it possible to learn to read hieroglyphics?
Of course.
How? I have tried. I told you this last month. I have been trying to learn to read hieroglyphics, and I can't find a resource to do that. How are you doing with reading of hieroglyphics?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I met a man who's a scribe who actually reads and writes hieroglyphics from the text. His name is John Nichols. And so we started working together in about 98.
Right.
Where he gave me the glyphs and the meaning and how to speak them.
See, I have a bunch of, and we're going to talk about that, and the music too as well. I have sculpture here, and I have some of it. I'm going to show it in on the video cameras here in just a second. I don't know what it means. I have it, but I just don't know what it means. We'll talk more about this after the break. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. That's right, ancient Egypt to India, the divine feminine. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Simple enough. Our guest tonight, Sharron Rose. And right before the break, talking about the reading of hieroglyphics, and I've been wanting to learn. I would just love to learn. It's like learning another language. And so, Sharron, I went and grabbed here in the bunker on one of the shelves. I wish you could see it, but I have this sculpture here. It's carved into alabaster, and I'm holding it up for the cameras. You can see it here. And it weighs probably, I don't know, it's probably 10 pounds. It's really, really heavy. So on this, you can see a couple of cartouches. There's one here. There's one here. There's hieroglyphics all over it's a beautiful piece of sculpture that was found in one of the tombs over in Egypt. And so I have it here. Anyway, don't arrest me. But I don't know what it says. I don't know anything on it. It's just an amazing thing. But it sits on the shelf. Man, it's heavy. But I don't know what it means. And I want to talk about that. But the other thing is you have been recreating music from ancient Egypt. And it's absolutely incredible. Now, how do you interpret and translate and transmit the music through you and then get it written? Is it actually, do you think that this is what they were listening to 5,000 years ago?
I'm not sure about that. I'm using influences from the Middle Eastern music, and one of my drummers, who was my dance partner for many years in New York, Ramzi El Edlabi, he has been writing a compendium of Middle Eastern rhythms going way back. And it's really fascinating because he shows the flow through India into the Middle East, and the different countries and how the music shifted from one to the other. There's research. I'm not using this, but there's research on 432 that they were using that. But for me, it's not so much trying to recreate exactly. It has more to do with the metaphysical ritual aspect of it and the sounds of the glyphs themselves. So the music, the basic music is basic Middle Eastern rhythms, and the melodies kind of come, well, based also somewhat on ragas and what's called in the Middle East maqams. But what's more important for me is the experience of participating and creating the ritual itself. You know, in Egypt, it's unlike India or Tibet, where the lineage was broken. And so we're kind of like modern-day detectives going back and trying to piece together what was there.
Yeah, totally. So what about
some of it is...
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish the thought, but I don't want to let my question get away
Well,
from
the way I began with all of this was I met an Egyptologist and healer named Robert Masters. He wrote a book on Sekhmet, the lion-headed netter, goddess of Egypt. And he actually had a statue, we were speaking of of Sekhmet that he said belonged to Ramses.
Oh, really?
Right. And we would sit and meditate, and we would go into this kind of mutual trance together where we would actually journey. And this was with no drugs. It was just, this is something we could do. We would journey to these temples and together and receive teachings from the temples, from the goddesses.
I'm holding up a little Sekhmet statue that I have here, and Sekhmet actually went through a few different versions too, as well. Because in the beginning, just a cat, right, and in the end, through the Middle and New Kingdoms, transformed into a lion-headed goddess that protected the pharaohs and stood next to the pharaohs. Very interesting that you brought that up. Nobody talks about Sekhmet. I don't understand why. One of the most interesting gods of Egypt, and people see Sekhmet all of the time, but they don't understand what they are looking at. They just think that the Egyptians worship cats.
No. What they were doing, the reason she has a lion head is that she represents that fierceness and power and courage of the lion. It's that back to their relationship with nature and their kind of awe of nature. There's a lion-headed, what connected Robert and I was that I had been doing a tantric transformational practice from the Tibetan tradition of the lion-headed Dakini named Singhamuka. And so we had that lioness energy. We were always looking cross-culturally to see where the lion image would appear.
I wanted to ask you this. I have some issues with the age of Egypt, and what I mean by that is the Pharaoh's list and the linear time that they go back to 3000 BC, back to Menes or Mene or Narmar. I think that is incorrect. I think that this is me, but I think it's much. The Pharaoh's list, I think it reaches further back than 3000 BC. I think that
I would agree with you.
You would. What's your general idea of age of Egypt and going back even to the demigods and what what existed before Dynasty Zero?
Oh, I think that as I describe in my book, that we came in as light, right? That we weren't even that even in Egypt or throughout this earth, that we weren't even completely material yet, and so that is way, 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 way back.
And
right, and
right, okay.
And the temple period actually is, according to what the teachings I've received, the temple period is actually when things started to concretize.
And okay, so that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. When we look at what Orthodox history is trying to tell us, is that at 3000 BC, boom, Dynasty 1, Dynasty 0, at 3,000 years before 0. Now, I don't believe that. I don't think that that's a 3,000 year period of history, and I think that all of those temples and everything extend way back into time. The Great Pyramid Giza, that wasn't done at 2650 BC. It just was not, and it was much older. But yet that they try to tell us that these calendars are accurate. If you were going to put a time on that or an age for the earliest temple, go Abydos. How old do you think these structures actually are?
I really don't know. I mean, we would say it just depends what kind of calendar, what kind of teachings one follows. All I know is that history, as it's been written, has an agenda, and history is written by the victor. So there's a lot. That's why we look into myth. That's why we look into legend, because that gives you a perspective that is different from the what you're learning. But let's go to Egypt. There are many of us who are very, very interested in the metaphysics of Egypt, yet how much of that do you find if you go to study Egyptology in a university?
I love that. I'm tweeting this out. History is written by the victor. It's just
and what do these and victor? What does that mean? That means it's just war. I was talking to my son about this. He said, it's like every all these books. It's like the glorification of war. Even if you look, that's what I found as a child in the Jewish tradition. It was like always about all this fighting. It's like, why? Why has war become, the biggest thing in history?
Well, and if you look at Akhenaten and that getting out of the traditional religions and the multiple gods and everything else, and it wanted to just go to one God, and also an artistic and creative period, and Nefertiti, and it all seemed like that was going to be a good period, but it did away with all of the priests, all of the temples, the money system that the priests were profiting on, and had a really good lifestyle. And he erased all of that, but it was a great time for Egypt. It was a beautiful time, and all they could do was get rid of him as quick as possible. Why? Get back to war, get back to profiting and the culture that the priest had built for themselves. And that's a perfect example of it there. And Egypt went through it, didn't they?
Oh, they did. It may have been, if you look at the images of him, he looks like an extraterrestrial.
Yeah, he's ET-ish. Yes, he certainly is. On a lot of different levels.
Perhaps I'm just, thinking about this. Perhaps this worship of, Aten really was the worship of that source, of what in the Tibetan tradition they'd call source awareness, or in the Taoist tradition they would call the Tao. It was a recognition of what is beyond all of the forms, just the light itself, the light of consciousness and the light of love.
And it lasted for like 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy how Egypt went right back to its old ways for another 1,500 years. I mean, they were conquered and overrun so many times, and
well, maybe they weren't ready for. People love. They love their symbols. They love their deities. They love the art, right? That it seems more human. It's very hard to understand that purity, that source, that light from which it all emerges.
Now, there's there's something else I wanted to ask you, which is, and I don't understand why things aren't looked at like I'm about to present. You have ancient Sumer, you have Mesopotamia, geographically is a stone's throw away from Giza and the Nile and that part of the Mediterranean. It's right there. It's too close. Both cultures started at about the same time, if we believe history, at 3000 BC.
If we believe history.
Right, if we believe history. But one thing is for sure, geographically, I know, which is it's right next to each other. Is there a relationship between Sumer, Mesopotamia, and Egypt, and could they be, and I'm going out on a limb, but could they be the same?
Well, there clearly could be a connection. This is actually, Sumer is an area that of research that Jay knows more than I do about. But, I would take it back to this. What I've been looking at, and Jay too, for many years, is what we call the primordial tradition or the perennial tradition. So this takes you back to the fact that once upon a time, it was it's kind of like the Tower of Babel, right?
That's where I'm
prior
going.
To that,
yes,
we spoke the same language.
Yes.
And then when that happened, we got split into all these different, different countries and languages and all of that. And it's interesting because, it's the beginning of Rosh Hashanah for the Jewish tradition right now. And there's this concept that called the tikkun. So in the concept, it has to do when there was the fall into duality from grace, the fall into duality, and they fell. The light, the upper Sephiroth could hold it, the upper three, but then it shattered into all these different sparks and became these shells, they're called. And they fell through what was called the metaphysical void into what they call the other side, and interpenetrated the world of action and material reality down into to Malkut, the earth, the world of earthly manifestation. And as it did that, as they fell, they attracted these husks. They're called kelipot, and those obscured the light and knowledge of our primordial source. So now, some of the Kabbalistic Jews would talk. What they want to do is bring the tikkun is like where all this light comes back to the source, where it all, instead of being shattered like that, we come back into the fullness of who we really are. So to do that, we have to cleanse our mind and come back into what we would call enlightened qualities. And once that happens, so that's wisdom, right? And once all these sparks come back, then we are back into a time of beauty and grace. Now, because we live in this time, even that teaching has been, on some level, you can say it's corrupted. People would say, "Oh, they wanted, end the world. It's an apocalyptic thing," But at its heart, I think the teaching of this fall into duality, and then this reversal of that back into a unity is beautiful.
And if we go way back, and I've been reading about this lately, about Thoth being the son of Enki. And if that is the case, yeah, right. And that opens up, and see, the thing is, and geographically, we're talking about a very small area here. And those demigods and what predated the dynastic period of all of that coming through the mythology and the storytelling of the Sumerian texts and the Anunnaki, and that plays through into the culture of Egypt, but yet history doesn't mention any of this. And the possibility of all of that, because the origins, the progenitors of all of this go back to one point source eventually, right?
Yes. And the thing is, though, what I want to tell you is that we have within us the ability to reach that source. We do. It's there in each of us. It's just we have to make the decision to take that path, because, the tantrics would say that it's like walking the razor's edge. You have to let go of all of this, all of your preconceptions, all of your programming, and learn to walk a very different path than most people.
And what do you say to that person that may be on the edge? Right? They're right there, Sharron. They're on the edge. That how to recognize that you're at that point. And then, obviously, you're going to do something about it. But how do you recognize that you're at that point, that you're right there?
I would say that what happens is that you start perceiving. First of all, I think that the Gnostic tradition. The Gnostic tradition, the focus is on direct experience. Right? It's not what you've heard from anybody else. It's what you kinesthetically, energetically experience. And that is a place to start. I don't really believe much I see on the news. If I hear that someone had an experience and they're telling me about it, then I feel more that I can trust that than all this phantasmagoria that they're putting out on us. So it begins with, first of all, recognizing that you're more than just this physical body and just this mind and just this, the nature of how we live right now and how many cars you have. And, you're more than this ego.
And what's the first book that you would recommend when somebody is at that point? The epiphany is happening, right? The light is shining. What would you suggest? What's the softball? Right? You're going to throw them a softball.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Depends what tradition. I just interviewed an incredible scholar named Ken Cohen. He's a Taoist scholar, Qigong teacher. He has a beautiful book called The Way of Qigong. That also gives you exercises that include what's called the small heavenly orbit and the microcosmic orbit. in which you're attuning yourself to the heaven and the earth, and you're sending light around the central pillar of your body.
And you have
which would be the jet pillar from the Egyptian.
You have over at Sacred Mysteries too. I was over there last week poking around on the website. You have a great, vast selection of books there. Is that book on Sacred Mysteries?
No. But we do have a very interesting film we did many years ago called Healing the Luminous Body with Alberto Violdo, who's from the trained in the Quero tradition of Peru. So he has this whole Healing the Light Body school, and that's a very beautiful introduction to understanding the energy body. That we are so much more than we've been led to believe.
And what's the next film that you're working on? I'm looking at the poster of it here, but tell us about it.
Well, this has an interesting background because I was starting to work after we did The Last Avatar, which is a narrative film that introduces the concept of the light body. So there's sort of Alex Gray-like visuals. Neil Donna Walsh plays Count Saint Germain and shows us the light body.
Right.
And then since I've been doing the practice from the Tibetan tradition and looking at it from the Egyptian, from many traditions since 1985, I was thinking I'd do a documentary on the light body from a deeper perspective. But I went to interview Mantak Chia, who's a very famous Qigong Taoist master. And it was at a center in Lenox, Massachusetts, and there was this whole medical Qigong event going on, and the owner, Yingqing, said to me, oh, well, you're here. I've got 10 Taoist masters, Qigong masters. Just interview everybody. And it was amazing. I really got, and my cameraman got what we call the Qi transmission. It was like every one of these, and I didn't know much about Taoism. I was asking them whatever I could think of. And every one of these teachers, male and female, for the hour interview, they were standing in the midst of nature. And they were they're just filled with light and healthy. There's one man, Master Li. He was a Chinese martial arts film star, and then he got into Qigong. He actually discovered and trained Jet Li. He's in the film. He's 80 years old. He moves like he's in his 20s. I mean, I was so amazed by their health and their radiance and their happiness that I said I have to pursue this. And so that's what I've been doing. And I just feel that it's a teaching that is not complicated. It's readily available, and it gives you the means. First of all, it brings you into this sense of stillness in movement in stillness, so that you have this like relaxed sense all the time. You come into a sense of balance. Your body, because there's inner alchemy where you are actually healing and transmuting the energy of your organs and actually growing your light body. You're working with transmuting your emotions. You're working with your thoughts and noticing how your thoughts build and grow and turn into tornadoes and drive you crazy.
Right.
And ways to transmute that and to come to this incredible balance in yourself and this love of nature, inner nature and outer nature. It's called Neigong and Weigong. And so I started doing the practice a year ago, and people are telling me I look a lot younger. My energy is much stronger. My chi is much stronger, and it's just been an extraordinary journey. The teachers are very excited about it because I'm coming from a deep perspective, not just superficial. So it's been an amazing journey.
And what's the film called?
quantum chi.
Quantum chi. And I just want everybody...
Because we look at chi in relation, we go into science, we look at chi in relation to the quantum field.
I have
quantum mechanics.
I've just posted the images of the movie poster and, of course, a link up to sacredmysteries.com. It's right there on Twitter. Everybody go and visit. There's a great book selection over there, too, as well. And there's videos and everything that Sacred Mysteries is up to. It's all right there. Sharron, thank you for the conversation tonight. Absolutely brilliant.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, so much fun, and I can't wait to get you back on. And when you come back, we'll focus on one subject. Tonight, we had to cover a little bit of everything. Thank you so much, Sharron. Be safe.
And give my love to Rita.
Absolutely. She's down the hall in her studio. She's listening. Thank you so much, Sharron. Be safe.
You too.
Great conversation. SacredMysteries.com. The Quantum She. The poster's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't that really cool? All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can go and do it and hashtag F2B, and you can check out Sacred Mysteries. Everything is up in Twitter. You can also go to JimmyChurchRadio.com and click on the links over there. I'll open up the phone lines and get into some other stuff right after the break. 323-825-5045, 323-275-9695. This is Fade to Black. Thank you, Sharron. Amazing.
Y'all, Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the T.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the T.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. Get the T.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology.
The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Sharron Rose. Great, fascinating conversation tonight. Love a history lesson. Opening up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Both phone banks are now open. And what'd you think about that conversation? The thing is, and it's a weird zone to go into. It's a weird zone when we start talking about the feminist movement that went down in the 60s and 70s. And she said it, the burning of the bras and everything that went down. But and I understand that. It's a weird thing to go into because equality and the supporting of both sides needs to be there, right? But is there the breakdown of the family unit that happened? And these are facts. This isn't, we can theorize why things happen like they did historically, but is that general breakdown that happened because of that part of these problems that we have today? I trip on this, and I really, really, really want to see some responses here from everybody. The teacher in school, when I was growing up, if I went home and complained about a teacher to my parents would have said, you know what? Sorry, man. The teacher is right. You are wrong. And that is it. Right? Now, today, if somebody comes home and complains about a teacher's going to jail. Teacher loses its job. The teacher now knows. The students in class today know that they are in control, and the teacher is not. There is no respect in a general sense. In the public schools, think about that. That's got to be the roughest job in the world. There is no respect at all. Right? Now, that general breakdown, is that part of what's going on? I remember getting paddled in school by teachers, right? You walked into class and the paddle was sitting on the chalkboard in the chalk holder. It's sitting right there. The threat of getting whacked in the hallway was always, and as crazy as that sounds, I was okay with it. And I couldn't go home and complain about that. It would get you nowhere. What, I'm going to run down to the principal's office and those days are gone. Now, I'm not saying that. Think about what I don't know. And I don't want to sound strange here. I really don't. I'm trying to figure out what is going wrong. I'm okay with the way that I grew up. I'm okay with it. And I had respect for every teacher that I ever had. My homework got done. I tried to get good grades. I was always there to learn. And I just don't think that that's what's going on today. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello?
Yeah, you're live right now.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it's my first time. So you're going to have to walk me through this.
Go ahead. You called. So what'd you think of the show? Let's start there.
I thought it was fantastic. I've been following Sharron Rose for a while, and I just got on your site 2 nights ago, and because she was going to be on, and I'm just fascinated by what you're putting out to the world.
We do the best that we can, but let me say, what's your name, by the way? Natasha. When I sit down and have conversations with and hang out with somebody like Sharron, and you get inside of them and you figure out where they are coming from, all I can do is think about, Sharron needs to, and she's been doing this for a long time. She's out there and doing her thing. But all I can think about is my audience needs to be part of this conversation that I'm having right now, right? This needs to get out to the world. And if there's a way I can get a small piece of her and a small piece, because she's so vast, right? If there's a way to get a small piece of her out there and her message can get to my audience, male or female, it's not even the point, then I win and the audience wins. And it's difficult because she's so smart and she is so grounded and she knows so much about so many different things, and I just need to get a small piece of that out to the audience. And I hope that I did that tidnight. Do you think we succeeded just a little bit?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had no idea she I didn't know how she grew up, or I've kind of seen like the goddess side of it all, and so to just have that realization, like, this is a person, she just has this vast, like you were saying, she just has had so much experience, and now it's like tangible because she's gone to these places where that spirit is still very much alive, and she's bringing it back to a place where we're in America, we're really trying to understand what that feminine aspect is, because like you were talking about with like the burning of the bras, I wasn't even born yet.
Right.
So I mean, I had an experience of my mom who did live through that. She went to Berkeley at that time, so I'm a Bay Area girl, but it's just like I'm the continuance of that drop, yet I didn't live through it, and so to hear all these people that have lived through it, like yourself talking about just your experiences, it makes it more tangible for me. And I know I've said that twice, but it really does. And I want to say thank you so much for having her as a guest and for just being so honest yourself. It really made the interview just open up, and her teachings are more accessible. And I'm very thankful.
Well, I hope, and thank you for the phone call, Natasha, and I hope that, have you ever had the opportunity to just sit down and talk with Sharron?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty cool. Let me tell you. Okay, I'm going to make you laugh right now, and I hope she's listening. So we're sitting and we're alone, and it's the two of us talking. Well, we have a couple of people with us, but I'm saying there wasn't hundreds of people. And we're backstage, and we had a couple of hours just to sit and talk. And this was the funny part. As we're sitting there, and I'm looking into her eyes, and she's smiling and listening to me, and I'm thinking to myself, I am a doofus. Right now, I'm speaking with somebody that is totally awakened and enlightened and has been to places that I haven't been and has a grip and an understanding that I do not. And I'm trying to engage, and the conversation was wonderful, don't get me wrong, but I'm sitting there and I'm looking into her eyes and I'm just thinking to myself, I know nothing. I know.
It's the whole Gnostic thing, right? Experience.
Yes. And so, in my position, and like on this show, Natasha, you have to understand where I'm coming from. I am trying to learn. right? And the only way you learn is from somebody else, and you pull that knowledge out of them. And that's my gig. That's my job. And it was just so funny. I would just remember sitting there with her, and I would just go, I am just an empty shell. You know, I just know nothing.
I don't think you're a doofus.
Well, but that's how I feel, you know, and that's why I want to get, you know, I need her to come on the show and teach me. And if I learn something, the audience does too at the same time. And that's what's so wonderful.
That's so great. And I mean, I learned so much. Like I said, I have like a couple of pages in my little notebook of things to look up. I'm just inspired. Like you said, like I didn't know hardly any of this, and now I'm inspired to go out and learn more.
Well, welcome to the family. This is what this show does every single night. We cover so many different subjects. But that's it. The addiction for you has now started. So welcome to the family, Natasha, and have a great, wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
Have a great night. That right there, I win. I win. Thank you, Natasha, for that phone call. But that's exactly what this show is about right there. That phone call. First time caller, first time listening to the show, and there you go. You know, I just feel good right now. Feel absolutely good. There was one thing that we started to talk about tonight that I think as the show continues, we're going to expand this thought, which is this. And I've had this enlightenment because I do so much research. I do so much reading and of course the interviews, and documentaries, and I'm trying to figure out history and life, right? I'm trying to do that. And there's something going on now that I'm going to continue to explore. Rita and I are doing this together. And that is the obvious, but nobody wants to reference this. And that is the geographical significance of northeastern Africa, Syria, Iraq, the Euphrates, the Tigris, the Valley, the Göbekli Tepe, and what is going on in that part of the world and the connection. And when we are dealing with thousands and thousands of years, and we're only talking about a few hundred miles in each direction, you know, walking, right? It's all close. And over thousands of years, there's the influence of these cultures on each other is one thing, and that is obvious. But what if there is one source to all of this, and that possibly that all of this is the same? And I'm going to continue pushing this. I'm going to figure it out. It's very difficult to do when nobody wants you to find out this knowledge. Cortana just said Armenia. That's a big chunk of this. Big chunk. Not Armenia today. When you are Armenia, the Armenian highlands went from sea to sea. Today, Armenia is landlocked. It's very small. But all of this culture was just one. And it's a very trippy thing to start to think about. And the demigods and the gods of Egypt and the origination of them, I think, is something that needs to be explored. Nobody out there is doing it. That's first off. But the second part is the history books will not do this, and they will not connect these dots. There's something going on here. There is, and Babylon, ooh, man, I'm telling you, wouldn't it be trippy if all of this was connected and all from one source? Think about that for a second, you know, and Sharron gets it. And I know that those out there that are awakened, that they understand this. The history did not start at 3000 BC. It just simply did not. So, and I talk about that a lot, but if you push this back, if you push this back just a little bit further, I'm telling you, all of these, not only bloodlines and gods and megalithic structures and history and culture and the laws and where everything, it's all from one. And I'm getting closer to it. So I'm going to push this, and so is Rita, and we are going to figure this out together. And there you go. So just think about that for a second. I'm putting these thoughts in your head. So as the show continues over the years, we're going to put this thing together, man. We're going to figure this thing out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to do it together. All right. Where am I at? I'm looking at my new atomic clock. Oh, during the pre-show tonight, speaking with everybody, I told them what happened last night during the show. I don't think I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But last night with Damon Barry, I have an atomic clock. Atomic clock, obviously, means just that. There's a radio signal that feeds the world, comes out of Colorado, and it's bounced around. But atomic clocks lock onto this, so everybody is in lockstep. That second hand crosses midnight. It's the same second hand crossing at the exact same time all around the world, right? So, but you need that in broadcast. Okay? Click, 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 7 p.m., boom, done. Everything fires up, right? Well, last night, my atomic clock at 9:42 p.m. stopped. And I'm looking at it. Now, remember, that means I have 18 minutes left in the show. I've got Damon T. Barry on. We're doing an interview, and we're talking. And after a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, we're doing it. And I just glanced up at the clock to see where I'm at for the end of the show, and it was still at 9:42. And so I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's kind of weird. It seems like we've been talking for about 5 minutes, but I guess we only talked for 30 seconds. So I'm tripping, right? Okay. Well, anyway, and I'm continuing the conversation, and I look up again, and it's still at 9:42. And I'm thinking, now is my atomic clock not working? But the second hand is clicking. I look down on one of my computer screens here in the studio, and I look down, and it's 9:55, 9:56. I was like, oh, whoa. I got to run credits. I got to get out of here. And that's what happened last night during the show. So I want you to think about that for a second. I thought 1 minute went by, and no, it was more like 15. And I had no concept of it. I literally thought we were dealing with seconds while that interview was going on. And suddenly I had to jump in to Damon and go, okay, end of the show. Stay right there, Damon. Say goodnight. And I had to run credits. And that's what happened. So now I've got a new atomic clock. But this one, instead of being analog with hands that we're all used to, this one's digital, like we run over at Coast to Coast. So now I'm running a digital atomic clock. Totally different vibe here going on in the studio. I have a feel that I get from an analog atomic clock. It's still digital, but you understand what I'm saying. So now I've got a new digital clock in front of me with the seconds countdown. Totally different, bizarre feel. Okay, before I get out of here, check this out. One of my favorite movies of all time, right up there with The Godfather, 2001: A Space Odyssey, is Spaceballs. Love it. I make the references here all the time. We're in the now, right? There's a scene with Mel Brooks where he opens up his desk drawer and he breaks out a can of Perrier. He opens it up, and he's breathing the Perrier. Now, all of us watching that scene would always think, it'll never come to that, Perrier. You know, the water thing is something that we've become acclimated to in society. Perrier. But Perrier, right? Well, check this out. Sometimes art imitates life, right? Well, there's a Swiss startup right now that is bottling fresh air from Switzerland to sell to residents around the world in polluted cities. I'm not making this up. And according to the company, the air is collected from various locations around the Swiss Alps and compressed into an aerosol can. It comes with an attached face mask, right? So you can put it up, Perrier, man. I'm not making put it up and breathe Swiss air. A 7-liter can of air costs 19.95 Swiss francs or $21 and contains enough air for 120 breaths, which is around 120 it's around 10 minutes of use. Now think about this for a second. Think about this. So when seeing this, and thank you, Mark, for posting that. I'm going to retweet it. I'm not making this up. This is actually real. Thank you, Bob. You got it up there, too. I went and sourced this out. And when I did, it started popping up in my Facebook feed, different companies around the world that have been selling compressed air. Now, you know the, what is it? 3-hour energy, 5-hour energy, whatever you come. That company has been selling air for a while, pure oxygen. You can get it in spearmint, peppermint, pomegranate. I'm making it up. Grapefruit, making it up. But I didn't know that. And you can buy, and it's expensive. These little cans of oxygen, right? Unbelievable. But and some of the pictures that I saw, it's sold in the candy section at like 7-Eleven. I don't know how I've missed it, but apparently you've been able to buy this for a while. I am just shocked, absolutely shocked. All right, now for the first time in 50 years, I'm looking at my digital clock. I've got exactly 60 seconds before the end of the show. For the first time in 50 years, the ruins of Chichen Itza are being investigated by archaeologists. The team from the Great Maya Aquifer Project aim to discover if the local legends of tunnels and an underworld are true. And that Mayan pyramid was built over 1,000 years ago. Now, there have been rumors about these passageways and rooms that go underneath the temple of Kukulkan. Well, they've got ground-penetrating radar, and they're going to be using this to search the surrounding area of Chichen Itza for tunnels and caves, using kayak-mounted sonar to explore underground water systems. And it's been spoken about in Mayan oral history, but it's never been confirmed. The project right now is currently underway, and in a couple of weeks, we're going to start getting some of the results. They've already found 2 submerged caves that they didn't know were there. And this concludes another episode of Fade to Black with my new digital atomic clock. Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Sharron Rose tonight for the amazing conversation. This broadcast is only copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Until tomorrow night, Fader Night. John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tapping.